Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, good. Thank you for joining this panel, or this fireside chat with Reece and myself. The topic is transforming optimization and clarity in global money transfers through blockchain, and I assume all of you are interested in learning more about Ripple today if you are here. So our moderator gave a great intro to Reece. I'll just reiterate it a bit. Reece is the managing director of Middle East and Africa at Ripple, where he leads the company's business operations and strategic initiatives from Ripple's MIA headquarters here in Dubai. And he's been in the industry for a long, long time, and 6 years at Ripple, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
6 years.
amazing. So quickly, just about me, yes, I'm a journalist. I work at a company called Web3 TV. If you guys are interested in watching my videos, I conduct a lot of interviews with industry leaders and founders, so go to YouTube and check out Web3 TV. All right, so let's get started with a more controversial question. So Reece, US lawmakers are on the brink of a landmark vote next week that could be crucial for the future of the blockchain industry in the US. And since Ripple is an American company and it's embroiled in a legal battle with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, for the past 3 years, I wonder who you would rather be in office. So basically the question is, Trump or Biden?
Wow, we're straight into it, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Let's get into it.
As you mentioned, Ripple are a US company, headquartered there. We have global operations, and really, one thing that's no secret is the lack of clarity and regulation in the US.
Yeah.
And that has continued for some time now. We thought we'd see a bit more progression over the years, but it still remains to be seen. Whilst I won't give you a direct answer, what I would say is that a pro-crypto regime is definitely in the best interest for Ripple and the wider blockchain and crypto ecosystem in the US. And I think you only have to look at regions like the UAE and Hong Kong and many others that have done a sterling job in actually putting frameworks and regimes in place which are attracting businesses to kind of set up and grow there.
Good answer, and I agree with you. All right, so now let's get more into Ripple, which is a major, major payments institution. Its focus has always been on cross-border payments, but I want to ask if we could just take it back a bit to the beginning and why that has been its original focus and what the real-world problem with payments that it's trying to solve is.
So Ripple have been in existence 12 years now,
Yeah.
and our key focus has always been on payments. And really, if you look at how cross-border payments specifically are done at the moment, they're running on technology built in the 1970s. So, if I want to make a payment to my mum in the UK, essentially it could get there tomorrow, it could get there in a week. It may not get there at all, right? So they're very slow, they're expensive, and essentially there's a lot of failures. So really from a Ripple perspective, we were like, how can crypto and blockchain really solve some of the pain points when it comes to moving money cross-border? And we believe that XRP and the XRP ledger really solves those inefficiencies to move money like information does today. Like I can send an email to anyone in the world and they're going to get it in a few seconds. Okay. Like I mentioned, if I send money, there's no real telling of when that's going to arrive.
Okay, so how would you say that the industry has evolved then? How has Ripple's offering evolved to meet this need that you're talking about?
So when we look at how, and firstly, Ripple have always wanted to work with large FIs. Some of our largest customers are large, big banks and payment service providers and corporates. And we're not looking to circumvent, the banks, the regulators, and what the central banks, what they're doing. We're trying to work with. So we use XRP as a bridging asset between two fiat currencies. So essentially what that does is that allows our customers who want to make a payout into the Philippines, let's say from the UK, to move that value in real time to make a payout in a couple of minutes versus a couple of days.
Right.
And so far we've processed about 37 million transactions, approximately $50 billion in value. So, we're seeing some real traction. I think we'll come onto it, I'm sure, later, but, where we've seen a lot of holdback is people really taking that step into the market because of the unclear, maybe regulation that does exist globally.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a good point. Okay, so then in addition to that offering, you guys have maybe some things that our audience might not be super familiar with. You have a new stable coin that recently came out. You're focusing on tokenization products. So would love to hear a little bit more about maybe the lesser known products
Sure.
of Ripple.
So payments, as I mentioned, always been kind of the forefront of what Ripple are offering. And it was really these interactions that we were having with these large FIs where it was clear the step for some of them was going to be around tokenization of real-world assets. And really, when the same banks that I was seeing 6 years ago, if I mentioned the word crypto or blockchain, they would get uncomfortable in their seats. Are they going to escort me, off the building with security? What's interesting is those same financial institutions are inviting us back in over the last 18 months and sort of saying, what would be your advice in terms of how would your strategy be, or how would you advise we kind of move forward with some form of digital asset offering? And really, tokenization is a good entry point. But to tokenize something, they need to custody it.
Right.
So naturally, we stepped into the custody infrastructure world, and we acquired a company called Metaco, a Swiss company, enterprise-grade custody solutions, and they're serving the likes of HSBC, BBVA, DBS, some of the biggest banks. So it made sense for us to acquire and bring them into our kind of product offering to be able to offer a suite of products. We then looked at kind of the market, and really stablecoins, in our view, have always been the bridge between decentralized finance and traditional finance. It's 150 billion market cap. I think it's estimated to get to 2.5, 3 trillion over the next kind of 4 years. So there's clearly demand for another, I guess, compliance-first, regulatory-focused player like Ripple, who have the trust in the market to be able to, launch our own.
You mean compared to the existing stablecoins out there, like Circle and Tether?
We focus on what we're doing. Others are doing a better job than others, but as it links to payments, which is quite important, USD-backed stablecoin, which is what we're going to be launching with, is you look at the circulation of money. I think give or take, 60% of payments are made in dollar, right? A lot of those payments are actually made outside of the US. So if you've got someone in Africa who wants to receive US dollars from here, there's a US dollar payment is going to bounce to the US before it then goes back to Africa. Extremely inefficient.
Right.
So I think we'll see and continue to see an evolution of stable coins being used, to the unbanked, firstly. Also within businesses. If you look at the GCC, how many currencies are pegged to the dollar, right? So there's 4 or 5, I think, in the countries in the Middle East. So therefore, then, to be able to have a stable coin that can be issued and circulated to improve business processes and improve speed of payment is really something that we see the future when it comes to moving money.
So then what do you think it's going to take to get things rolling a little faster, to accelerate that greater adoption when it comes to payments and regulation?
It's regulation.
Right.
Ultimately, yeah. Okay. And I think, I'll talk about the UAE. The UAE have done a fantastic job in being pro-regulation and building frameworks. So, you have ADGM, you have DFSA, DMCC, VARA, first standalone kind of regulator, who really are providing the building blocks to really entice global companies and also crypto-native startups to start their entities here. I think it's something like 2,000. There's 2,000 organizations based in the UAE now, which is phenomenal. Huge. Just 10,000 people working within the crypto and blockchain space. So that shows some growth, and I think really why that is because you've got regulation that is wanting to learn, wanting to understand. They give you a seat at the table, and they're open to innovation. I think there's other areas globally that have done a good job. I think Europe, UK, Hong Kong, Singapore, Brazil, to name a few. But really where I guess the whole wider industry is being held back is that there is no real global framework. And it's difficult to kind of knit what those different regulators are doing together. But yeah.
Right, things are still a bit siloed, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So then let's, still on the Middle East, let's go into some of the characteristics that make it an attractive space, maybe specifically for payments then.
So pre all of the advancements in regulation in the UAE, Ripple have had a presence here for, I think, 4 or 5 years now. And the reason being is I think you've got an economy which is 90%, give or take, expats. You have, I think, this forecasted to have over $7 billion in cross-border remittances annually. So really, it made sense years ago to be able to enter this market and serve some of our partners. I think 20% of our actual global, on the payments business, comes out of this region. What's actually happened is the region itself has kind of caught up on the digital asset and crypto side of things over the last couple of years, and really now, as we mentioned, we're talking about large FIs, about tokenization, custody, stable coins. So there's a lot more of an evolution in this region, which is really good. Okay,
and so what else do you think within the greater industry then it might be preventing some greater adoption? I would like whether it's payments or whether it's access. Maybe we need more. I would say decentralized applications, like more use cases for users, or even more acceptance from traditional markets. Like, what do you think needs to happen at a greater scale for the industry in general?
I'm not going to talk about regulation again because we've covered that. That is a clear one. But what I would say is over the last 12 months, I think we have seen a tipping point when it comes to institutional adoption.
Yeah.
And really, that's what the industry needs or needed. And I think we'll continue to see that evolution, the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity. I think the Bitcoin ETF took 7 weeks to, BlackRock's ETF for Bitcoin took 7 weeks to get $10 billion. It took gold 2 years, right? So I think the momentum and the growth is there, it's coming. I think there's a lot of players, certainly the large FIs that have sat on the sidelines for a long time. They're starting to enter the space, and when they enter the space, I think that will encourage more trust and more mainstream adoption, which is, I think, what we need.
Yeah, okay. And so then how is Ripple positioning itself maybe to prepare itself for this future?
I think we've always kind of positioned ourselves and been ready for this element of growth. We've certainly seen a tremendous amount of growth ourselves. We've certainly expanded. We're a 1,000-person company now. And I think what you need is the infrastructure. What you need is real utility behind the project. So, we're not looking at the daily market trends and seeing the movements in the prices of, crypto. Ultimately, it's important that things keep growing, and they will, but you need to take a step back and see kind of how far we come and see actually the projects that have real utility are really what's going to drive this industry.
Yeah, okay. And so how would you envision maybe that ideal future? Like, let's say, I don't know, the next 5 to 10 years, like, how would you like to see the crypto, blockchain, Web3 industry looking like, personally?
I think more of the same. I think when you have, I'll use Europe as an example. So Europe have got MiCA, which is the regulation, which will, for the whole Eurozone, everyone will come to an agreement of how the framework and regulation will look. I think in 5 years' time, if we can get to a place where, on a more global scale and less siloed kind of, individual regions having their own regulation, I think that's a good spot because ultimately that allows for that innovation and people to build and really strengthen the market. Without that, I think we'll continue to see pockets globally of where their real innovation is coming, and essentially that's a great thing. But for real, adoption, I think we need that to be knitted together a bit more.
Yeah, it's like as if we're still too decentralized in a way. I don't know.
Ironic, right?
Right? Like that's what we want, but then we're not working together enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely needs to change. Okay, I agree with you there. All right, so is there anything that you can share with us? Maybe any announcements or something that Ripple is working on, maybe that we haven't heard too much about that you can share with our audience?
So Ripple, have always been a technology provider, will continue to be one. I think what we are leaning into is being regulated and licensed for payments in certain regions. Certain regions where there are, forward-thinking regulators and clear frameworks. So, I don't have any specific announcements, but what I would say is you'll continue to see globally Ripple stepping up and being licensed in hopefully multiple geographies.
Okay. Keep me updated with that. Now, Reece, I'm going to ask you some more personal questions. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, what makes you get up every morning? And what keeps you up at night?
Oh, I've got 3 children, young children. They're fantastic at keeping me, waking me up in the morning. Okay. I've been in this industry 6 years. It's just being part of kind of what the future of finance looks like gets me up in the morning. And I think we're still very early, by the way, as well. It's even, it seems like 6 years seems a lifetime. I've got a lot of more grey hair because of it. But ultimately, I'm excited about where we are today and where we're going to be, tomorrow and in the future.
Okay.
What
keeps you up at night?
Okay.
Like, what are you worried about?
Look, my remit is for the Middle East and Africa. It's fantastic being in the UAE, being in Dubai, and interacting with central banks, regulators, and really having a seat at the table there. What keeps me up is maybe there are some regions which are less kind of infused to do that at the moment, and that's kind of a battle that we've got to continue to move on. Yes,
we still got a long ways to go. All right, now also I'm curious about what you might be reading, or listening, if you're a podcast guy, or any books you recommend for those who maybe want to educate themselves a little bit more about the industry, or watching. I don't know if you have time to watch Netflix shows. Just a little curious about how you spend your time outside of Ripple.
I think there's an audio book which I kind of have on repeat. It's called The Daily Stoic.
The Daily Stoic.
Yeah.
Okay, what's it about?
By Ryan Holiday. So it's about stoicism, really. And for me, if you look at life, you can't always control what happens.
True.
But you can control how you respond. And ultimately, we certainly in this industry, there's a lot of changes along the way, which ultimately you can't control.
Every day,
right? So, from my perspective, that just keeps me grounded, keeps my mindset in the right frame of mind. So when we do have certain challenges, we can overcome them.
Okay, all right. The Daily Stoic, you said? The
Daily Stoic.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to look that up. All right, so now, do you have any advice maybe for our audience here, or in general for those in the industry that would like to, maybe those who are founders or are in the weeds of it all and trying to really make progress? Any advice out there for those who want to see that change and want things to accelerate?
I think my advice would be to keep going, firstly. To those that are on the fence or maybe curious, or developers, make sure that you're behind projects that have utility, that offer value. And just remember, we're still so early right now. This industry, it seems like a lifetime, but we're very, very much at the beginning. And the tipping point, as I mentioned, I believe is coming. So just continue to be part of something in changing how not only money moves, but how kind of the world operates, I would say.
So patience.
Yes.
Okay. And are there any other trends besides payments or what you are working on day to day, but something exciting, any development in the greater industry that might interest you, that you're looking into, that maybe you could flag for our audience to also look into?
I think I touched on it briefly, but I think the tokenization of real-world assets is going to be huge. I think the doctor before had a slide from BCG where it estimated a market cap of 16 trillion by 2030. And
huge.
You know, if you think you're tokenizing gold, assets, even things like real estate, fractional ownership, you know, I think these are going to be really exciting for the industry, and I'm personally very interested in that.
Okay, amazing. And then just one last question on Ripple. I know you said that there's nothing specific to announce, but maybe are there any like partnerships or collaborations with other financial institutions that you would like to highlight that maybe others can also look into if they're interested?
Sure. So within this region, we partner with a company called People, they're a payment service provider completely built on the blockchain and Ripple tech. And essentially what they're doing is they're looking at remittance payments and powering remittance payments into Africa. So they're partnered with a company called On Afrique, who have distribution across multiple different local African countries. And really what they're looking to do is take out the headache, the cost, and make it a lot faster and more efficient for payments to be done. So yeah, we're excited to announce we've worked with them for a long time, but we're really seeing things move very good there.
Okay, so you guys can check that out if you're interested. And Reece, last question. Since we are at the Crypto Expo, I've been asking people around, what does crypto mean to you at a more personal level? Or blockchain, or Web3?
No, I felt previously I worked 10 years in the fintech space for a payment company. I felt the pain every day where I had large corporates ringing me up, asking me where their payments were because they were sending a US dollar payment to China. They had stuff sitting on the dock waiting to be released, and I couldn't tell them anything. I had no information other than that payment is on its way and it will get there hopefully today, so you don't have to call me tomorrow. So I felt the pain point and saw the inefficiencies firsthand for 10 years in the industry. So really just seeing how things can be done and just the inefficiencies that so many people deal with versus what the efficiencies that crypto and blockchain can solve, for me personally, are reason why I'm working at Ripple.
All right, love that answer. Okay, so that's all my questions for you. Are we taking questions from the audience at all? Yeah, does anybody have any question for Reece? No? Raise your hands. Come on, someone. Okay.
Been let off. Nice.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all for us then. Thank you, everyone, for coming to hear Reece and myself, and enjoy the rest of the conference today.
Thank you.